What's going on, y'all? My name is Brian Waldron. If you're new to the channel, basically I make a lot of helpful videos on if you're trying to get into the event space industry, if you're trying to scale your event space. But of course, the magical question, why should you even listen to me? By the age of 26, we did $3.5 million on paper for our event space business. And now we have a company called Event Space Elites, where we show other young budding entrepreneurs such as yourself how to get into the event space industry. So in today's topic, a big topic that a lot of people have been commenting on my videos asking about, should I lease my event space or should I buy my event space? And I think this is really something that's very important to consider when you get into the event space, simply because a lot of people are really big on ownership, which of course matters. Like, I want to own the soil, I want to own the ground, whatever the case may be. But a lot of times we might be putting the cart before the horse. So a lot of times, in my personal opinion, it is actually more beneficial and more lucrative just to start out by leasing. But that's just my personal opinion. I actually want to go through the pros and cons of each one. So let's get straight into it, right? Leasing versus buying. Let's go into the pros and cons of each one. So first thing, when it comes down to leasing, for those who don't know what a lease is, you're essentially just signing a contract that rents the property from the landlord for a specific amount of time. For example, I will go to John, he's the landlord of 123 Main Street. I will sign a contract called a lease that says, hey John, I intend to rent this from you for the next 5 years, for the next 3 years, for the next 1 year, at the amount of X amount per month. That's basically what a lease is in standard form. There are different types of leases: percentage leases, commercial leases, percentage leases, gross leases, modified leases, net leases, triple net leases. That's a conversation for another day because that could get pretty dense. But I'm just gonna go into generally lease. Good old lease, right? So first pro would be lower startup costs. What do I mean by that? When it comes down to startup costs, typically when you're leasing a property, you're paying 1 month rent, 1 month security. It might fluctuate. Maybe you might do first month, last month rent plus security, meaning that if you have a lease that's $3,000 a month, you will be paying a check of $6,000 to $9,000, right? Cool. When it comes down to owning, it's a different situation. A lot of times you might be putting a 20% down on a property. So for example, if the property is $100,000, which good luck finding that, you'd be paying $20,000, right? Or $25,000 if it's 25% down, right? So that's the big pro when it comes down to leasing. You have lower startup costs. Another big pro is you get to make the mistakes on someone else's dime, right? On another person's dime. And the reason I say this is because when you negotiate a lease correctly, which is why I recommend a lot of people, hey, look, listen, if you don't know how to negotiate a lease, if you don't know what you'd be looking for, get a mentor, get somebody who's been through this. We've opened up several different locations and event space leads, over 200 across the country. We've seen a ton of different leases and we know what to look out for. We actually have cautioned our clients from signing certain leases just because we know it's not a good deal. I'm not gonna lie, I get a ton of DMs every single day talking about, hey, look, listen, like I still am not opened up, or we haven't been profitable, whatever the case may be. Well, you should have probably gotten a mentor, but that's a conversation for another day. So when you sign a lease, you can actually make mistakes on another person's dime, meaning that, say for example, you make the unfathomable decision to start this business without a mentor, without some type of education. You can, in a way, get out with less than scarring injuries. And what I mean by that is that you might be able to only lose $10, $20, $30, $50,000. And yes, I know that it is a lot of money to lose, but imagine putting $20,000 or $100,000 in a property and not being able to get out of that for a few years. This sounds like a lot easier. Of course, nobody wants to lose money, which is, again, while I caution everybody, I know a lot of people look at these videos and they think, oh, I can do this just by watching the video. These videos are to introduce certain concepts to you so that you're aware of what you're getting into, but they're no supplement whatsoever from getting an actual mentor or some type of program or some type of coaching that'll walk you through the step by step. So I just want to be very, very clear on that. So like I said, you can make the mistakes on another person's dime and come out relatively unscathed. You know, you might lose a couple tens of thousands of dollars if you really screw it up, but at the end of the day, that's a lot better than losing $100,000, $200,000 in this business, right? Cons: you don't own the property. no ownership. So of course, all the money that you put down into a build out, all the money that you put down into renovations on your property, that's going towards the landlord. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, Brian, that's absolutely horrible. I just spent all this money on a build out, whatever the case may be. We're gonna save that for another video. That's not that bad, because think about it. If you're signing a 3, 4, 5-year lease, you should damn well be able to make that money back over that period of time. If you don't, it's probably because you never had any type of coaching. In Event Space Elites, most of our clients break even or are in profit within 3 to 6 months. That's the benefit of coaching. So, but I thought I heard a door. All right, so that's a con. 2, higher startup costs. I'm from New York. Everybody knows how expensive New York is. I would not be able to buy a property in New York if I was starting this business all over again, right? Leasing gave me the opportunity to start with very, very little of my own capital, right? It's very difficult. Most people don't have $100,000, $200,000 to go and drop on a property, which is why leasing is usually a better deal to get started. Buying, right? Let's get into it. So why would I buy a property, right? Why would I buy a property, right? Kind of address some of these things in the pros and cons of leasing, but let's kind of reiterate it in the sense of just buying a property. When I'm buying a property, I, of course, do have ownership, right? When it comes down to buying the property, all the build out goes towards me, right? I build equity. So let's unpack those really quickly. Ownership, of course. I own the deed. I own the property. I could change it up. I can go rent it out to somebody else, whatever the case may be. It's mine. I can do what I want. 2, build out goes towards me. Whatever money that you put into the flooring, into the lighting, into the walls, into the paint, that's your property. For example, we have a property that we acquired in Philadelphia. It's 2 event spaces. All the build out is just improving our property, which therefore goes into number 3, equity. When it comes down to equity, what are we looking at? All the money that we put into our property to improve the land, to improve the value, whatever the case may be, it improves and it increases the equity. So say, for example, I bought that, all right, it didn't work, okay. Say I bought the property for $400,000, probably by the end of my first tenant's 5-year lease, that property might be worth $500,000 and I didn't have to do anything. Pretty short and to the point video, but I really hope that explains the differences between leasing and buying. Of course, let me address a couple of the cons too when it comes down to that. I think I addressed most of those in the leasing, but I'm just gonna reiterate it in the tone of buying. When it comes down to cons, again, higher startup costs. That's one of the biggest ones. Most Americans don't have $1,000 put away. How the hell are they gonna have $100,000, $200,000 to put towards a property? Straight up, right? And the next one is basically, what was it? Higher startup costs. We had higher startup costs. Another con of buying would be, honestly, liquidity. That's a big one. Liquidity. If you buy this property and shit hits the fan, it doesn't work out with your event space business because you made the unfathomable decision of doing it on your own, what happens next? And I mean, honestly, guys, like I don't preach coaching or mentorship because we have a program. I preach it because I live it. I've spent over $250,000 in personal development myself. One of our businesses alone did $2.5 million last year. I would not have been able to do that without the information that I've gained from coaching and mentorship. So I very much so put my money where my mouth is. If you want to get into a business without any type of coaching, I'm not going to say that you're going to fail, but I'm just going to say it's going to be extremely difficult for you to succeed as well as somebody else who did coaching. Now, don't get me wrong, coaching isn't for everybody. There are some people who are just destined to be part of a 9-to-5. But if this is a business that you generally want to be a part of, and especially if you want to work with a company such as ours that we've proven it over and over and over again, please understand that the money that you invest in a program is only to serve you and save you more and more down the road. For example, and I'm actually going to make a YouTube video on this, there are several pitfalls in this alone that I'm just not going to be able to address in a 5-10 minute YouTube video. Things of like, all right, cool. If I am leasing, what kind of lease should I be signing? What kind of clauses should be in those leases? How long should the lease be? What contingency should I put in? What guarantees? What warranties? What clauses? All these different things go into it. How much money should I put into this property? Should I give them 1 month rent? Should I give them security? Whatever the case may be. All these little nitpicky pieces. And I understand that the way we speak and the way we communicate in these videos might make it seem a lot more simple than what it is. But please remember, this is a 5 to 10 minute video breaking down an entire concept. So if you are thinking about getting into event spaces, I'm not gonna lie, if this was like maybe like a drop shipping business where you can just invest a couple $100s just to try it, by all means. But when it comes down to event spaces, you are investing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. This is not something you wanna play around with. I've personally lost money in event spaces because I didn't know what the hell I was doing because there was nobody teaching this. So believe me when I say there's several pitfalls in this industry, things that we talk about in our program. So you really don't want to go about this alone. Just having the ability to talk to somebody just on the side of like, let me get another opinion is worth more than its weight in gold. Guys, my name is Brian Waldron. Again, if you do want to apply for our program, I'm going to drop the link for Event Space Leads below. Also, if you do have an existing event space and you do want to scale it, we have our program called Scale Your Venue. I'm going to drop the link below as well. And I hope to talk to you soon. Let's go.